So I'll give you the link as well. Here. And I'll put it on the Discord. So that's the YouTube link. So that's actually the live stream.
Great.
Yeah.
You want me to share right now?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. When you do that, then down. In fact, talk with Mark. When you do that, Lozada from Bircle. I talk to Marcos Lozada about all things Bircle, and I'll throw in SVB. So yeah, this is working. Live stream's working, which is it's actually pretty cool. Big fan. Big fan.
I'm sharing this.
Okay, cool. Why don't you do that?
Let me take the. Perfect.
Cool.
And wait 1 second.
It is great. This piece of software is awesome.
YouTube is working fine now.
Yeah. So it was what happened? Yeah, it was just LinkedIn. Can't do it in China.
Okay, but now yes. So.
Yeah. It was just.
So great talk. If you want, we can jump in.
Cool. Yeah, we can definitely join. Cool. Well, first of all, thank you for joining. Again, apologies for it not working in with LinkedIn, but it is what it is. So, where are you calling from?
Okay. Hi, Tak. I'm calling from Cordoba, Argentina.
Okay.
No problem. The other time we had bad luck, but we are now here.
We are. It's like the Argentinian football team. You have to suffer sometimes.
Yes, we suffer
to feel the good things.
Yes, until we reach great, like the final of the World Cup. Like we are like pain points all the time, but we're in pain points all the time, but we made it.
That's right. That's the key. Suffering is the key. So, first of all, I do have to kind of say, well, you want to talk a little bit about kind of Bircle and what is it? But before you do that, I do have to say I am wearing the Bircle hat. Bircle has been a big part of Constellation DAO, which is I'm a part of. It's the Techstars Web3 DAO. Bircle is you are part of some of the committees and also very good at connecting, I think, us with and myself with LATAM investors. So I have to thank you for that, and I've kind of recognized that on the call. But yeah, you want to talk a little bit about what you do at Bircle and what is Bircle?
Yeah, sure. Bircle, we're focused on the fashion industry. We bring superpowers for fashion brands. Easily, we add chips to fashion garments to authenticate them and offer digital experiences to buyers. And yes, basically we work like B2B company, and we're facing an approach of like building a place where brands can launch like custom and capsules for their like Web3 and new approaches like digital physical approaches, and that's mainly what we are doing at Bircle. Yes.
Yeah, so a couple things that I thought was relevant. One, again, thank you for doing all the referrals to Platinum Ventures, to what was the other one?
Utopia. Yes.
Utopia. I really enjoyed that conversation as well. He's a really good guy. I didn't know they raised from Manu Ginobili as well.
Yes,
which is
yes.
kind of cool actually. Really cool. At some point, I love to meet Manu as well. But so before kind of talking about like all this building in LATAM, I think kind of we can talk about how to build in LATAM, what are difficulties and challenges of building in LATAM. I wanted to bring it to what's relevant recently with Silicon Valley Bank, and then kind of start from there. Have you seen any impact to Silicon Valley Bank with you as a founder and to the LATAM community?
Okay, directly to us in Bircle, we don't have like a pain point because we didn't even touch that bank or that point. But for sure that it was a thing like worldwide. I think not only what happened physically there, like with the bank, but
Mm,
the network and the effect that it generated around the world, it was quite big. And I think that all of the building from LATAM is difficult because you want to pitch to a VC on US or from around the world, from Hong Kong, for example, or Europe, and
mm,
they see LATAM like a risk place, like a
mm,
really risk place because they don't even know. Uh, Avoiding that, for example, in Argentina is really crypto adoption is really big and Web3, and we have great builders, Globant and some unicorns that are recognized worldwide. But yes, we have seen like, for example, on bank movements, like transaction fees and many other things, like this scary situation that it was like deployed worldwide,
mm,
it affected like we had like a time pause on bank transactions. It was like a lot of intrigue, and people was like uh, what's happening. We want to
mm,
have information like updated one each minute, and it was like a hard weekend, I think, because it was like
mm.
Friday and it was a
Yes.
weekend like really moved.
Yeah. So okay. So is there a big presence in Silicon Valley Bank in LATAM at all? Do they even have an office, or is it mostly
Since
like all the LATAM startups that maybe go to the US or something?
no, yes, I think that US startups, maybe some of them, most like YC, I think, or some others may have Silicon Valley Bank.
Mm.
But for example, what I know from friends and other startups that they use, for example, or like entities like JP Morgan, Citibank, etc., or mostly like Mercury, that is another platform.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mercury, Brex. So
Yes,
it's funny. So I was talking to a couple of other live streams. I think for American companies or American VCs, big impact, right? So YC was saying 50% of the portfolio. People are saying 30 to 50%. UK, probably about 30 to 40, 20 to 40%. And then Asia, I didn't really hear that much in Asia. So it sounds like LATAM was kind of the similar, not immediate impact, but like, other things, right? So other things slowing down, some other founders, their issues, the ones that have American presence.
yes, and what happened also is like, as we are not in there,
Mm,
like in the US, and you are from Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, are not being so close, we depend on the information that it's going around, because we don't like we don't have presence like in person there, and
mm,
it's quite different because you can get via internet updates, or you
mm,
can go to a Discord or a Twitter or Telegram group. That
mm,
is the best way to do it, because if you want to have warm info,
mm.
you need to move
Yeah.
from LATAM. Yes, it's not easy.
Okay, so that's good that things are not at least kind of immediately impacted in LATAM. Um, does do a lot of what's the conversation there now? I mean, is it like, yeah, it's great that, it's this is a US problem. Or is it, you were saying that a lot of LATAM, I won't say a lot, but like kind of experiences, right? There's a huge kind of Web3 crypto adoption because of the devaluation of, I think, the peso at a certain point. So it's like, I wouldn't say it's expected, but do a lot of people say, yeah, that's why we're building crypto? The banking system is screwed. For us, the solution is to go fully crypto, right? Because we can't trust
No,
the banking
yes.
system. Is that part of the narrative, or maybe it's not?
No, yes. Now in Argentina, I was reading like 2 days ago that in 1 year we had 100% of hyperinflation. That didn't happen here for a long time,
Okay.
and it was really noise and big notice to
Yep.
get to. We are seeing that we have a lot of hyperinflation, but and these things causes that we have solution like crypto payments or
Right.
platforms to like earn and to like have our like reserves in crypto and potentiate like all of these new technologies, and that's why people is building, and we have like in LATAM and in Argentina itself like a big point of development regarding to crypto, and I think people like try to build Web3 or to use crypto because they see a place where they can be safe.
Mm.
Right, we have had like experiences like Terra or what happened with FTX and stuff like that that hit all the market. But I think like the technology and the scalability and decentralization that brings like the new era of crypto and why blockchain was created, it's
Mm.
really a benefit for markets like, for example, Argentina, Venezuela, LATAM markets that are
Right.
really with with big problems like it is hyperinflation and economic crisis. Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I hear, because it's like I have a theory. I just came back from Bangkok, right? So, Southeast Asia. So they were saying crypto is quite big there. Vietnam is quite big. Indonesia is quite big. Philippines is quite big, and obviously I help support an African DAO. And crypto is also quite big there, and so it's, I think the three biggest markets in my view is LATAM, Africa, Southeast Asia. It's kind of where inflation has traditionally been, where the traditional financial system really hasn't been as well developed, or it's different, right? It's not the banks. It doesn't start from the banks. It's mobile banking, for example, right? It started off quite mobile first, and then kind of went from there. So that's kind of my pet theory. Um, and then also, like, some of the narrative is again, like U.S. and U.K. They're like, it's great that the government's kind of stepped in to help save the bank, but some of the more crypto native countries do say, you know what, we could never rely on them. Our governments would never bail a bank like this out, and this is what happens in the U.S. And great, that's awesome. But yeah, we have to continue building, this new crypto rails, right? This new financial rails, because in our home country we can't rely on something like this happening. Because in this region, the only government that I heard doing something was Singapore, and Singapore reached out to all the VCs and said, like, how much of your portfolios are impacted, and if they are, we're happy to step in, and they weren't specific about what they were gonna do, but they were like, we're gonna step in and help. Like, did anybody in Argentina government reach out to VCs that you know of and offer to help the startups?
No, in Argentina it's quite difficult that
Oh yeah.
we have like programs in Cordova, for example, from some agents, but
Yeah.
it's not that they can cover all like really help a lot on what's financing and stuff like that. There are some, and they like, for example, if you raise something with an accelerator, they
Mm.
can like give you a ticket of some amount of a percentage of what you have raised with the accelerator, and then you
Mm.
can, it's like a lending, then you can give it back to them, but at the first stage and without so much interest, and you don't have to, they made it really easy. But we like the government is not looking at all like to help. I think like Singapore, but yes, it's quite difficult because the situation and how we have our politics is it's like really delicate.
I can imagine it. I mean, this is quite special, right? I mean, Singapore has money, but take a look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong has money, but you don't hear the same thing, right? So Singapore, not only do they have money, but they also willing to do stuff like that, right? So I think that is the exception rather than the rule. Um, so I recently saw an article as well. Someone sent me an article about. Let me send it to you. Fintech stars race to serve LATAM founders left behind by Silicon Valley Bank. I'm going to share this with you on the chat. Any impressions of that? Here we go. I will share screen. Here. So this one, fintech stars race to serve LATAM founders left behind by SVB. Since Silicon Valley Bank's meltdown on Thursday morning, more than 400 startups seeking new home have fled to a Brazilian startup called Trace Finance.
Well, I don't know like Trace itself,
Right.
but yes, Rex. I know that the founders of Rex is they're like Brazilian,
Oh, really?
and yes, and maybe that's why most of LATAM founders try to approach like break solutions or like Mercury, I think.
Right. Right.
Because I know they are really close and like Brex is like always like recommended when I was starting all the paper stuff and like to create all the stuff for the company.
Yep.
They recommend it a lot since they are Latin founders and okay they created it from a Latin perspective and they know how is creating a company from Latin like Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay, Chile, stuff. But yes, I think like as as all Latin, like Mexico, even being like really close to the U.S., they they are hit by like our same situation. And the other day I was hearing a talk and with Adora Shun that she is from YC. It was ex-partner at YC, and
Okay.
now she has a health company. And she was telling, okay, when people look at Argentina, Brazil, and all these countries, they don't focus on like the country itself. They look at all this part of the world like it's LATAM. Like they don't even like realize or don't don't like book or look itself on each country. They look at that as a whole. Like
I remember,
LATAM.
yeah. Yeah, I remember talking to Rogelio, right? Roger at Platinus, right?
Yes.
And he was saying it's not one country, and I think he's Mexican. Is he?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but and so because I was asking him, okay, so if you're building LATAM, like, where do you usually go first, right? And he was like, Brazil is Brazil, so that's very specific, right? If you're gonna go to Brazil, you're gonna go to Brazil, but that's huge, right? And you're Portuguese. Then Mexico is a popular starting point because it's big. It's not so big compared to some of the other ones, but it's like per capita GDP is high. And then you kind of start from there. I think he was saying, from what I
Yes,
recall.
the most attractive economies, I think, from LATAM, we have like, depend on that, but for scaling a startup, for example, or something like on fintech and stuff like that, people look a lot on Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia,
Right.
and yes, then it comes like Chile, Uruguay, and Paraguay, Peru. But in that scale, it's like more like the biggest is like Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, and then Colombia and all that countries.
And then tell us a little bit more, like, so going back to like the whole there is appetite for Web3 because of the financial systems, and I couldn't also imagine. I mean, look, the venture capital scene is a lot better now than where it was before, but probably still compared to like the U.S. is not as big. So, what in terms of Web3, like, is it what themes in Web3 are quite big in LATAM? Is it has it moved on? Maybe is it like AI, but is it like, is it metaverse stuff? Is it GameFi? Is it DeFi? Or is it all kind
Yes.
of popular?
No, in Argentina, like for solutions and what we have mostly recognized on Web3, it's Bits Farms, and that is a unicorn from like minting like Bitcoin, and then we have Open Zeppelin, that is
Hmm.
like for audits of smart contracts and all that technology.
Okay.
And then we have, but for what we people is building and trying to solve is like DeFi solutions for liquidity, for
Really?
gaining over time on, or like having like returns on stable coins, so you can like uh, you can like put some dollars to
Hmm.
produce, and then you will have more because they this kind of this kind of like financing models like what we have in Argentina, like the entities,
Hmm.
they can't go ahead with inflation. Like they can pass inflation. Like so, it's better to um, like save in what's U.S. dollars,
Hmm.
and what
Hmm.
DeFi and these financial possibilities that Web3 enables
Hmm.
are much better, and I think people is looking a lot of that. They have a lot of regulations and many parameters to
Hmm.
take into account,
Hmm.
but people is building a lot and is trying to like offer the public new solutions that
Hmm.
will give like coherent returns, because there are a lot of scams too,
Hmm. Of
offering
course.
like 80% of like 40% of returns or stuff like that annually, and you have to like be safe regarding to what you take or what not.
What are the biggest exchanges across? Let's just start with the exchanges. Because
Yeah.
GameFi, I know it's Sandbox, right? I guess that's the biggest company in LATAM. How about exchanges? Or does it like depend? Every country has a different exchange.
No, it depends, but we have in Argentina the biggest that people is using is Binance,
Oh, is it? Okay.
uh, and there are a lot of solutions on regarding to exchange. You have Ripio, Satoshi Tango, you have Bitso that is all over LATAM.
Hmm.
You have solutions like Buddha in Chile, for example. I don't even knew them since I entered Platinum's venture, yes, but
Hmm.
there are a lot of products on the industry, but the most big, and we have talked with people from Venezuela also, and that have like really bad situation regarding to finance,
Hmm.
and they are using like 99% uses like Binance. It's like
Interesting.
really big.
Right. And then how do people on ramp? How do people on ramp in LATAM? I'm again, look, pardon me. I mean, I'm sure it's different for every country, but how do most people generally on ramp?
Yes, I think in Argentina it's like really common what's peer-to-peer market,
Oh,
and
really? Okay.
also you can use credit, debit, and like
Oh, you can.
stuff like that. But yes, depends on the country, like the taxes you have to pay when you buy with card, for example.
Right.
And most of the people is using like peer-to-peer solutions,
Got it.
and they like also have their pros and cons. Like you have
Sure.
to be secure how you
Yep.
do it, with which people you do it, and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think Binance and there are some platforms that are doing this process really well.
Yeah,
Also, you can
Binance.
buy.
Yeah, it does. Like it used to be. No, it is still is available in Hong Kong. I've never used it, like the peer to peer, but yeah, like it works really well actually.
Yes, I haven't used it in a while,
Right.
but I think yes, most people use that on daily basis. Also, I wanted to tell you that there are a lot of solutions with a crypto debit card, like for example, Velo, Lemon Cash,
Okay.
Satoshi, and all these exchanges, as what I was telling, Rip and all of them, they
Right.
have you can issue a debit card, and then you can spend what your credits that you have on the exchange, and
Right.
then the debit card will be discounting from there.
Got it.
But yes, their solution depends on the country with these
Right.
crypto debit cards. We once, some years ago, we were thinking of doing one more, but when we pitched the idea, it was okay. You are doing the same than this. Yes, yes, it's like another one,
Right.
but of same time. And that's why I'm telling you that there are a lot of people trying to build like financial products regarding crypto and to save with US dollars, like with stable coins.
Yeah. In fact, I'm sorry, I'm just typing because I'm tweeting this right now about talking to you about. I think I kind of realized it, where what we can talk about where crypto fits in the market. Um, the okay, those exchanges, and then if I kind of ask, like, what is the pen? Oh, turns out you tweeted as well. Um, if I ask you, like, what percentage of people actually hold Bitcoin? Let's just say the most vanilla, right? Bitcoin. What percentage?
Sincere, to be like really honest, I
Yeah.
don't know a lot, but there are a lot of in Argentina. There are like crypto, like Bitcoin. Like since the first day it started, there are a lot
Right.
of people that have trusted like in Bitcoin,
Really?
like Carlos Malaton, Santi Siri, and many fanatics like on of the era of Bitcoin, and that really understand why Bitcoin was created, you know,
Right.
because it's like a value reserve, and people are trying to build things over Bitcoin, like NFTs or stuff like that. And Bitcoin itself, it was not created for like solution, like it was created Ethereum, for example, or for
Yep.
dApps or
Yep.
for application over the blockchain. Like Bitcoin is a reserve of value. It will be like scarce. You will have some amount. It won't be like anymore, and it will get much and much value. If you understand that and the purposes why it was created on that white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto,
Yep.
and there are a lot of Bircle of Bitcoin pioneers. You know,
Yeah, so if I ask, like, out of, let's say, your out of 10 friends that you know of, like founder friends, how many have a wallet? How many have a wallet? Does it kind of go
no, I
from
think
there?
like
100?
half of them have
Half?
a wallet, yes,
Got it.
or
All right.
60%. Yes.
Okay, then go one generation above. Your parents and that generation. How out of 10, how many have a wallet?
Two, maybe. Yes.
Two. Got it. Okay.
Maybe
So
two, or a son has created a wallet, and because they but yes, two or three, yes.
that's not
Less.
bad. And then
Yeah.
okay, and then the abuelos and abuelas. How many have out of 10 abuelos abuelas? How many grandmothers
Zero,
grandfathers for
zero
those that
or
don't
two.
speak Spanish? One or two?
Less than one.
Less
Yes.
than one.
Yes.
Okay. So abuelas don't care. Abuelas
No. But maybe
abuelas
yes,
just
one. Maybe one, yes.
got it. Okay. That's pretty good though. Like that means like younger generation is 50%, older like, parents 20%, 30%. That's still pretty good. And then all around the world, I'm sure the abuelas and abuelos don't have it, right? So that's fine. Most of the parents probably is less than 20%. I would probably guess about 5%. Because if I think about Hong Kong and, parents, like, yeah, not really. Not really. And then obviously the abuelos, not at all, right? What people will do is OTC, right?
Yeah.
So they will kind of what was it? Not OTC. they will kind of, I've heard like old people do it and then kind of give it to like their kids to manage it, but they won't have a wall themselves. That's kind of, but again, it's not common, right? Maybe 1 in 10 or 1 in 50 kind of do that. But it's mostly kind of younger generation. Same thing.
Yes, yes, and that's a topic. For example, in Bircle, our approach started being like to big brands and stuff like that with common public, big, not young public. And when we started working with Gen Z and younger generations, they like make really quick the onboarding. They know what's an NFT and they know how to use a digital, like all the digital skills that you can enable with a garment. We are
Yep.
now working with where to earn. It's like
Yep.
a concept in which, for example, if you use a jacket 3 times in a week and then you go to a club on Saturday, maybe you won a bottle and or you unlock like new stuff because you have proved that you have wear like the jacket 3 days, you know, and you
Yep.
can gamify and younger generations have
Hmm.
more incentive to consume this kind of new digital things.
Hmm. Yeah, you actually, it's yeah. There's a kind of move to we can move towards a fashion piece. So you could wear to earn. I think is kind of the movement. Yeah, I've also heard of kind of the phygital kind of side. When you're
Yes.
building up kind of this phygital kind of fashion startup, what are I mean, yeah, what is the biggest challenge? Is the biggest challenge like with the brands and trying to get them on board? Is the biggest challenge like getting the consumers and having them care about like phygital? Like where's the pain point? Or at least what's the challenge? Like how do you get
Yes,
people
yes.
to be more on the platform?
Yes, you know, fashion industry is like reserved to some small big groups like
Hmm.
we talk about Hennessy and stuff like that. It's like
Hmm.
really difficult to enter to that big players. But if they like you, you will cut their attention. So you have to provide a sexy product. Let's
Hmm.
put it on this way, and maybe you can end up like partnered or acquired or working hand by one of these big companies or groups
Hmm.
because they own a lot of companies. Like for example, I was telling of Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. But that's one thing that it's difficult, but it's not impossible. You can like if you move fast and break things like the
Hmm.
phrase, you will reach to talk with the people you want and the worst things the worst thing that that can happen is like you get a no and
Hmm.
you will go and look another one and try to hit a next door or work around on building something you have learned that is not good from the other, you know.
Hmm.
uh, and also on the product approach, like on Web3 is like a really powerful technology or all the things that it includes,
Hmm.
decentralization, ownership, and all that, access to your data, etc. But fashion customers and people that buy fashion nowadays is really used to Web2 solutions.
Right.
And
Right.
they want to buy with credit and many other things. We started being a Web3 full company, and
Hmm.
then we realized that fashion itself is not prepared right now to go full Web3 on one, jumping from 0 to 1, you know? So it has to be progressive, and we're like taking a Web 2.5 approach. We have
Hmm.
learned a lot from our customers on
Hmm.
not going full Web3, but we
Hmm.
provide a service that you can do it or on Web 2 basis and then acquire the Web 3 via some documents or things that we teach to to each audience,
But
or you can just
yeah,
what?
I'm gonna kind of intro. You say that, but then I hear like, I hear like Puma do something with Web3, right? And I hear like, I don't know if Nike did something, but
Yes, Nike
Lacoste,
acquired.
yeah,
Yes,
Lacoste did something as well. So you say that, but like, A few of the big brands actually have tried. Oh yes, and Nike acquired that startup, right? Um,
Yes, Nike acquired Artifact.
that's
Puma
right.
have made some NFTs. We have
Right.
seen
Lacoste
Tiffany,
did.
for example,
Yeah.
Lacoste. I'm seeing the brands that they are trying to get involved in Web3, but
Okay.
they hit this this
Mm.
phenomenon that is happening, that their audiences are
Mm.
really closed or really focused on traditional ways
Mm.
of consuming,
Mm.
but they have such big audiences that they throwing a small project on Web3 can work, and that's why we work on like this way with the brands that we work to. Our product
Mm.
doesn't work with, for example, white T-shirt from Zara, but
Mm.
if it's a limited jacket of 20 jackets customs made by Zara,
Mm.
it's a great fit because scarcity is really important
Mm.
on what we are building at Bircle, and we are
Mm.
seeing that Web3 provide this because, for example, you buy one asset that there is a 20 and there are 20 and no more,
Mm.
and people are incentivized to buy them on the first day, and you will have the fanatics that they want to use it, and the
Right.
collectors or maybe resellers that they can hold the asset and sell
Right.
them on at a higher price, you know.
Right. So the
So
scarcity exclusivity works well with Bircle. And so you're also saying like some of the big brands, I guess some of the big brands have tried. They're experimenting, and I guess they don't really have a strategy yet, but they are trying. Actually, so usually how do they try? Do they like have their own internal department, or they outsource it to an agency? Yeah, do you know how they usually do it? I mean, because
yes,
I'm just kind of thinking, hey, is that kind of where Bircle, uh, yeah,
yes, many
inserts
brands.
themselves?
The big brands have their own teams inside, but they
Okay.
like go ahead and like work with Web3 like marketing agencies. Like they
Okay.
know how to scale and grow communities on Web3 because brands are not used to having a Discord
Yeah.
or on Twitter. Maybe yes, maybe they have their Twitter, but of the common brand. For example, Lacoste has migrated their Twitter when they launched like the NFTs. The
Right.
Twitter became like Lacoste.eth, and they have like
Mm.
many stuff like really Web3,
Mm.
and that is really good for Web3 audience, but really bad for a Web2 audience because they don't know what's happening, you know,
Of
and
course.
they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah. Yeah.
know how to access that. But yes, it's like really delicate.
Mm.
But brands, what I'm seeing is like that brands don't know a
Mm.
lot of Web3, and they are like trying on small pieces,
Mm.
like as NFT drop, and then we see how is the loyalty that we can give the public over that.
Mm.
So they need, I think, and what that's why we created Bircle, that having a solution that can be like used by brands, relied on their brands because we are like a B2B company,
Mm.
are and working over our technology and trying to have like a not a protocol but something that is like really easy to use and that can be really powerful, but you because you can be like on web3 like superpowers, let us
Mm.
know, let tell it like this, using Bircle. I think like companies like these ones are the ones that brands needs to like jumping into Web3 or to engage this on these new ways their audiences with event discounts, loyalty programs. We have seen Starbucks is doing a lot on that side and is growing a lot, and people is like really engaged with their loyalty programs, and things like that are really growing and succeeding.
Okay, interesting. So you're saying that it is early days. They're trying, and maybe that's kind of where, this is kind of where Burkle has, um, I guess, as long as Burkle kind of prove its relationship and ability to do that, that's kind of where it's value add to the brands, because they're all trying to figure it out. Yeah, and right now they're using agencies, but by doing that, sometimes they might alienate their existing customers. Um, and how did, to your point, right? It's kind of this 2.5. It's probably not
Yes.
3.0 at all. It's probably not even 2.5, maybe like 2.1.
Yes. No, it's like a Web 2, uh, Web 2 with a Web 3, like you can go Web 3 when you are
Right,
in, or a Web 3 full.
right.
That's the approach.
Sorry, I'm gonna, now that we're talking about Web3, I'm gonna put this on Instagram.
Yes, and I think that on what's to come, like fashion, the physical fashion has
Mm,
generates like like 2021, like 2 years ago, it generated like 1.5 trillions
mm-hmm.
of revenue, and it's for 2025 it's predicted at 2.25 trillions like total market. It's a lot of money, but digital fashion is also generating a parallel market that will also generate like 50 billions more for brands, for example, on what's to come on the next years. And that's by Morgan Stanley. And we are seeing a big market. I don't know if technologies, uh, which technology will succeed, but the
Mm,
market is like really big for opportunities. I think the only defect that we find is like that this really there are some big brands that they are holding all the fashion industry, as I was
sure.
telling you.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, the fashion industry is it's huge, and it's a lot of it's consolidated, right? So like the Louis Vuittons, the Gucci's, right? It's all, and then I guess there's like a lot of smaller brands as well. Um, but yeah, it's there's something I think to, I don't know whether you use this normally in a pitch, but I think there's something about, Web3 natives becoming from coming from kind of Southeast Asia, like emerging countries, emerging markets, and maybe what you guys are is like a bridge from obviously like the big brands or any brands to reach to those emerging markets. Um, yeah, of like Africa, LATAM, Southeast Asia. Obviously the Web3 community, but Web3 community in real terms, what does that mean? I think it's those three regions.
No, yes, and our approach also was like, okay, let's go and try to put our product into Web3 natives,
Mm,
like go to DevCon, go to DevCon Bogota, for example, ETH Denver, or events like that, NFT New York, etc.
yeah.
But we realized that fashion brands are really focused on what are fashion weeks, like
Oh, right. Of course.
Miami, Hong Kong, New York, Paris, like in Milano and places like that, and that
Yeah.
are the places which we have to be. That we
Interesting.
have to be on the fashion industry with the really like decision makers of the industry.
Right.
Uh, the Web3 degens and the fanatics of crypto will
Yeah.
always like the products like with this kind of technology, but for
Right.
merch, drops of some t-shirts of a product, like for example this MetaMask
Yeah.
from DevCon. I went to DevCon and I came back with a bag full of
Right.
t-shirts that people were like giving away
Right.
from the stands. And I
Right.
think like the fashion industry has a different approach for regarding to fashion, because people really enjoy like buying
Mm.
last uh, from the last collection a garment, and
Mm.
that a product like ours needs to have
Right.
from the buyer, you know.
Right. So yeah, you work more closely with the fashion guys. The Web3 community will always buy, but it's getting the brands on board. So it's Fashion Week, I guess. But is it even the high fashion, right? So I think didn't wasn't there like a Paris Fashion Week already, like last week or something? I saw
Yes,
some
yes.
stuff on the
Well,
I follow celebrities, right? So I kind of see that, but it's not even them, right? It's a lot of probably like street fashion, even, right? That's kind of
yes.
probably a little more open.
Yeah, for example, one of our team members, like the community lead,
Yeah.
went last week, the whole week to Buenos Aires, that it was BAF week, Buenos Aires Fashion Week, and it
Okay.
came like a project from all different places here in LATAM and some digital projects also. And
Yeah.
if you are not there, you like don't get like that network. You are not next to the brands. You
What is it
have to
called
see the
again? Was it Buenos Aires
Buenos Aires Fashion Week. It's like
Fashion Week?
it was after like the Paris
Bath.
Fashion Week,
Got it.
and we are seeing like that fashion brands are
Hmm.
going. You know that there are trends on the fashion industry. You know,
Yeah.
first of all, but fashion is going more urban, or like it's like watching more younger generation, and that's a green for what we're building, because our product like wants to adopt that position. You know,
Right.
I see
Do
like
so. I'm just on the Wikipedia, like, yeah, Bath Week. Let me just share for everybody. Like Bath Week. Here, sorry. Um, Bath Week. So this is Argentina's most important fashion week. Um, Leading brand and
yes,
emerging designers are so like this and like New York, Paris Fashion
I
Week.
think the big ones are like in Milan, and there are a lot of big ones,
Yeah, there's
but
a lot. Yeah.
Paris, they are like really big, and they attract a lot of fashion like influencers, or as you were telling, like really famous people in the industry.
But is
But
this are these is the Paris ones too big? Right? Is it like not
yes,
street? Okay, got it. It's like too high end.
yes, yes, Paris. We were talking with influencers that went to Paris and they live here in Argentina, and they were
Yeah,
telling, no, Argentina, the bath is not even like one point of what's Paris Fashion Week, you know?
got it. So what? So if you're talking about like innovative brands, up and coming brands, and ones that are a little bit more open, it would be like Bath. What else is
Also, I have seen a lot of fashion and stuff like that on
yeah?
Art Basel.
Oh,
The
right.
next one, I think it's now in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's
So
in next week, I think, something
you
like that.
should go. It's like
I
really
should
good.
go. Yeah, I'll probably get tickets. But this is more art, right? Is it?
Yes, it's
When I
hard,
went, it was more art.
but there are a lot of fashion uh,
Hmm.
stuff, because there are a lot of people and high-end fashion brands.
Right.
There are a lot of them that are building with art, or with this
Hmm.
custom approach. You know that
Hmm.
each is unique, and
Hmm.
that's why they are like also positioning themselves in what's Art Basel and programs like that. You know.
Got it. Okay. So Art Basel may be pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, smaller. So maybe not Milan, not Paris, not London, not the big
The last one,
ones.
last one of Art Basel that was in Miami.
Miami.
People tell that it was like really big. Like,
Okay. Yeah, you went, right? You go to the Miami one, or you went for
no,
like
no.
vacation?
Some of our team members was there, but I personally didn't went.
Got
I
it.
have
Okay.
seen a lot of stuff via networks like the social media, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I'm kind of thinking about is like the Soho House community, right? So Soho House does a lot of art. Maybe they just call it creative, right? So, um, creative communities, and so there's a lot of I hear a lot of like talks, right? Right around Art Basel. or even when not in Art Basel, but they have talks about like emerging brands and stuff like that. So that's probably another kind of place where all these kind of up and coming brands are coming or are there. And so maybe that's also a good pipeline for Bircle, right? To try to do talks with, yeah, it's Soho House and then get these kind of emerging brands. It's a good pipeline, right? A platform to talk to some of these emerging brands.
Yes, yes. Every scenario we have to like take use of it, and we should be in there. It's a lot of money to participate of all the events,
Yes.
but yes, you have to make a balance and see which ones will be the best one for impact and to
Yeah. And
like
I'm
that.
actually, yeah. And sorry, you're just making me think. And so, like, that's like offline. Then I'm kind of thinking, like, Instagram's great because there's a lot of people and then fashion there. TikTok seems to be quite big as well, right, for that type of content.
Yes, but we have designed now a studio in the office that we will be
Okay.
making like reels and
Yeah.
videos and like short videos to help this younger generation like on board like on this future of fashion, because people is not so used to it, and they
Yeah.
need like they are always consuming like on TikTok reels or whatever over
Yeah.
Instagram, and we have to go through that channels. I think
Yeah.
that will be really good for Bircle. Yes.
There's another one in Asia, which I heard it's you will need Chinese for this. I don't even know like what it's called. Um, I don't even know what it's called in English, but you can do this. So it's called, I think, Little Red Book app. So it is this one. I'll send it to you on the chat. So it's kind of like the TikTok of Asia, or TikTok of China. Like if that's a market that you want to cater as well, this
Yes,
one.
yes.
Yeah, it's called Little Red Book.
We will have to study it on our next steps, I think.
Yeah.
Our approach right now is like to go through US market
Right.
and then jump into Europe, and
Okay.
in the meantime study opportunities like for example with people like you or some possible new situation that we can face in the future with Hong Kong or stuff like that where fashion is really important.
Yep. Yep. Well, there's in Asia, right? To be honest, like the consumer market is always China, but then in terms of like the brands, Korea and Japan. Obviously, there's still great brands in China as well, but I think, and there's more and more, but historically it has been Japan, and then now Korea as well. So that's so the brands. If that's kind of the strategy to go with the brands first, I would probably look at those two first, and the consumers are on in China, but I don't see as many brands. Not as well developed, right? Obviously there are, and by sheer size alone, right? There's a billion people, so there's bound to be. But in terms of ideas, in terms of originality, definitely Japan and Korea.
You're right.
Yeah.
We will take that. Uh,
Yep.
I will keep that info. So really,
Yeah. Cool. All right. I don't want to take too much of your time. That was good chat. Hopefully the audience learned a little bit about more about fashion. I think we talked a little bit about, SVB, crypto in LATAM, and then building in LATAM, and then actually building in fashion. So hopefully the audience learned a little bit more about that.
yeah, sure, and we can do another one in some weeks or some month,
Sounds
and we
good.
can go in deep with our topics.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be months. Hopefully weeks.
Yes. Oh no, weeks. Some weeks. Okay.